Like every other student, you might have heard of grad schemes, and you might also be wondering what makes them so damn special. Let's go through a tale of two grads, Dan and Sam. Dan went for direct entry. Sam's going for the scheme. See what I did there? Dan took 1.5 months from beginning to end, application to offer. He started only 3 weeks after he finished his last exam. It probably took only an online assessment and an interview to get through, but he did have to compete against other candidates with very different levels of competency than him, because it's not only graduates going into this kind of jobs. Even if it's the same age group, someone who did an apprenticeship or worked previously might have 2 to 5 more years of experience than Dan. Sam, on the other hand, had to apply in September the previous year to avoid the mad rush of other graduates applying, and also the deadline, which comes around December time. After that, it took several weeks to get an answer. He had to complete an assessment for maths aptitude, then a psychometric one for his personality, and finally, a team working survey. He was really afraid he'd get kicked out because he knows companies are really strict with these early stages of the process. Some companies even cut off 50% at this stage. He might have had to take additional stages like a mock project or a phone interview before being invited to a group assessment and an interview face to face. And then he might have found out if he got it only 3 to 4 months on average after the deadline. That's a long time to wait. The average graduate scheme in the UK pays $30,000 a year. The average job pays $22,100 in 2016 anyways. This is pretty similar in other countries as well. And law firms, for instance, or the really top end in terms of pay, could give Sam as much as £45,000 in a year. Enough said. Dan might be taken around the office once, shown where everything is, then asked to sit down with their manager and discuss the work ahead. He might get a trial period to get started of about 1 month. Some trainings are provided, but a lot of the support is up to him to ask. He doesn't get any less support than Sam might, he just has to ask for it rather than be provided as a standard. Sam shows up on his first day. His first 2 weeks might consist of a series of team building exercises and workshops, skills trainings, and getting to meet some of the higher ups, discuss their work, and maybe attend some cool keynotes. Afterwards, key processes in the company would get explained and he would start proper work within the first month. The ramp up after that, though, it does vary from company to company, but it very rarely is gentle. That's both due to competition with other grads and also to the intense nature of work within companies that do have grad schemes. Dan might have a performance review every 3, 6, or maybe 12 months, team meetings, etc. His performance is a lot more dependent on the steps he takes and the progression in the future that might depend on hitting targets and sometimes commission-based rewards. Failing to hit those targets can be pretty bad, even resulting in getting fired. He does get treated like he knows what he's doing though, which is both a blessing and a curse. He might be working in smaller and more flexible companies. Sam has similar performance reviews. A lot of the companies with grad schemes also have a probation period to weed out anyone that doesn't really perform as expected. 6 months is usually the norm. Apart from that, grad schemes are pretty regimented and tend to be for 18 to about 36 months, so it might make Sam feel like he can cruise a bit because of that security. Job security is pretty guaranteed as long as you're in the grad scheme. The big downside is Sam gets treated like a rookie no matter what. Not to mention the larger companies he'll be working in to get a grad scheme probably have a lot of red tape and are quite slow. Both Dan and Sam have proven themselves. They've found their place in the company, but Sam got a lot more training as grad schemes tend to have a lot more structure. That being said, the training might have been less than ideal, and a lot of the training can be repetitive, sometimes an exercise in bureaucracy. It's also a possibility, on the other hand, to interact with big people in the business. Sam will have had a lot more chances to interact with the higher-ups, thanks to all those mock presentations and projects you would have gone through. Alright, hopefully you got the idea by now. Sam's doing well, Dan's in a bit of a pickle. If you're a high flyer, you will have a higher chance of doing really well in the grad scheme, especially financially. But you might do equally well climbing from the bottom. Let's not forget, we can't all go for jobs in the Goldman Sachs, Unilevers, and BMWs of this world. I didn't, and smaller companies very rarely take graduates into grad schemes. It's usually the larger companies that do grad programs. But if you're good and driven and ambitious and hardworking, working your way through direct entry might work too. What's the conclusion? There is this argument that grad schemes don't actually develop better employees, but rather select the ones that are already good. So if you see super high salaries post-graduate scheme and hear stories of some graduate like Sam that ended up with £60,000 or euros or dollars after they did 2 years at some multinational, it's probably because Sam was really good to start with. A good grad program is hands down better than even some of the best direct entry jobs in terms of opportunities and training, but a bad one can be worse than even the worst direct entry job. And trust me, there's a lot of grad schemes all across that spectrum. So who's the real winner? You, for having the choice between the two. So as always, I hope you found this video useful. Leave a like below if you liked the video, comment below with feedback, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. See you next time.